I want to welcome everybody to the Thursday Pivot. My name is Lori Power, for those of you who don't know me, and I'm a group benefits specialist. Benefits are my only business. We are strategically focused and we build intentionally designed benefit packages for our clients. Large or small, doesn't matter the size. And we're consistently responsive after the sale, which is the purpose of this show. We wanted to talk about SHifT. We wanted to give clients and our connectors alike the ability to hear the information direct from source. So every week we try to bring in a business professional who can help leverage us out of this current situation and pivot towards success. So it is due to that consistently responsive that I asked Andrew to join us today. Remember to add your contact information, if you haven't already, Lisa, to the contact or to the chat bar. If you have questions, then post them there as well. I'm going to be monitoring the chat bar and make sure that we get those questions answered by Andrew. This is an interactive program, so I want to hear from everybody in the room. We can only grow by sharing. So let's start first off, Andrew, and take a moment, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about the EOS program, Jeremy, giving it away, okay? Tell us a little bit about the EOS program and how you get involved with that.
Sure, thanks, Lori. So I'm a professional EOS implementer and coach. EOS, for those who aren't familiar, stands for the Entrepreneurial Operating System. Is captured in a book called Traction by Gino Wickman. So if you've not heard of that book or read that book, I definitely recommend that you read it. If you want to contact me after this, I'd be happy to send you a copy. For those that have read it, I encourage you to reread it, especially in a time like this. It's very valuable to look back at the basics and the foundation of how you're operating your business, and just a great business book to reread if you've already read it. How I discovered or found EOS was actually through a coaching client of mine. About 3 years ago, I was in the middle of growing my own operating company, a company called Integrity Products, which I've since exited from, and a client handed me a copy of Traction, and had never heard of it before, but I've heard of all the other books that were being referenced, the E-Myth and Good to Great, and the Rockefeller Habits at a Connection. And so that resonated, and I knew immediately when I finished that book, two things. One, I needed to implement that in my own operating company, which I did, and that allowed us to continue to grow and develop and break through ceilings that we were encountering in our business. And the second thing was to be able to do this work with others. I have a coaching and consulting and mediation and entrepreneurial background, and so the work just really spoke to me to be able to bring this work forward to others. And so in the last couple of years, I've sold out of my operating companies and involved in about 3 or 4 different companies, and just running a solo practice, bringing the methodology and the tools to other business owners.
Take me through what are the goals of EOS?
Goals of EOS, ultimately, the ultimate goal from my perspective is really to help entrepreneurs and business leaders get everything they want from their business. So whether that's more revenue or more profits or more fun or more time away, whatever it is you want from your business, it's ultimately EOS will enable and allow you to get that. The 3 things that we promote, that we help leadership teams and entrepreneurs get better at is what we call vision, traction, healthy. And so vision from the standpoint of just getting the whole organization 100% on the same page and aligned with exactly where the business is going and the plan to get there, just getting really crystal clear on that vision, that plan. Traction from the standpoint of instilling accountability and discipline, so no matter where you look in the organization, people are executing on that vision. And then healthy, just helping you become a healthy, more cohesive, high-functioning team, because unfortunately, many times that's not the case. And so it's through those 3 things, working with first the leadership team and then cascading that throughout the rest of the organization, that we achieve those 3 things. It's an operating, we call it an operating system. It's not a piece of technology, though, just to be clear there. It's a way to manage all the moving pieces and human energy in a business. It's a complete set of simple, practical tools just to allow you to solve issues more effectively, to achieve your vision, to strengthen your business and its key components.
At a time like this, and I was saying to somebody this morning that, like it or lump it, we're 5 months, coming close to 6 months into our new pandemic experience. And this is the normal, whether we were trying to avoid it or wait for something else to happen. I find, Andrew, that it's easy to turtle. It's, the first response is to go inside my shell and wait for this to end. And there's a big part of my brain that screams, this is the time we need coaching most. Take me through some practical applications that you've assisted clients with during this time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've been coaching a lot through this time. I mean, it's been nonstop on many different levels. Of course, implementing EOS and assisting clients in their implementation journey, and implementing the methodology and the tools and the system, but also just individually as well as leaders, because I think now more than ever, as leaders, we're being called to step up for our businesses, for our teams, for our communities, for our families. And so now more than ever, to do that. And so for me, coaching is just it's a way to be able to have someone support you in your process. And I know that from my end, it's, if you're looking to achieve higher levels of performance and to kind of get through, there's no better way than to have somebody that you can process that with, to help you see things that you can't see for yourself, push you in ways that you maybe don't think you could be pushed. And to, again, in this time, there's one of the silver linings that I've found and coached people through is to actually take this time that we've been afforded, many of us. I know many are struggling, and I don't, I'm really sensitive to that too, but many are finding that they're having a lot more time to reflect and time to think about what's important and time to reassess and reevaluate relationships and the way they're being in their business and in their lives. And so to have somebody to help guide through that process and sort through that, there's a lot of kind of endings and beginnings happening all at the same time. And so it's helpful to have somebody to be able to walk on that journey with. And that's my approach on coaching.
Coaching, though, is a broad spectrum. And you can, and I don't think that we're speaking out of term. Sometimes the coaching, you can have, a negative connotation, right? Where do we find that return on investment? How do we track and measure that this has actually worked? Because you can have a feeling, but that's not really business. And I know, because you call it an operating system, that there are tracking and measurables. So take me through a little bit about what that looks like, so you get your naysayers over that fence.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, from an EOS perspective and coaching EOS, well, first, there is 100% guarantee in the work that I do. So that's comforting. So how that works is the client literally does not pay me for a day's work if they did not get value from that session. And so, we put our money where our mouth is as far as always keeping us delivering value. Now, there's also been many cases, and I've got some of my own, where looking at from an ROI perspective, ultimately EOS is going to increase the enterprise value. So whether you're looking to eventually exit your business and you're looking to increase your multiple, engaging with an implementer and professionally implementing EOS into your business, you're going to increase that overall enterprise value. So there's been lots of precedent for increased multiples directly correlated with EOS implementation. So there is definitely some history there, and we do track progress. It is a system, and so we measure progress along the way and along the journey to see how strong the business is getting in the 6 key components that we identify in the business. So we're tracking that all along the way. And so there's many stories. I think too, the practical nature of EOS, 100% of EOS is practical. There's zero theory. It's been time tested. There's over, I think we're close to 9,000 companies now that are running their businesses on the EOS system. 60,000 plus session days facilitated with those 9,000 leadership teams. So what that does is it gives, and we have a 350 wide worldwide community of implementers like myself, like Jeremy. There's a whole worldwide network now. So we're constantly getting feedback and results and seeing what our clients are achieving through implementing EOS. So on the broad spectrum coaching side, more the personal one-on-one coaching work, a little bit more hard to measure, because you said you have an insight and then you have a breakthrough, something shifts for you, but maybe can't quite associate, did that happen because of that? I can say from my own experience working with my own coach, I don't know, one-on-one environment, that I don't know, it's call it magic, call it whatever, but every time I have a coaching session, things shift for me. And I can't say it's because of this that XYZ happened, but I do know that it creates a space and an opportunity for me to grow and develop myself in ways that ripples into everything else that I'm doing, but a little bit harder to try.
I think it's like playing a bit of tennis against a brick wall, isn't it? Sometimes you just need to bounce that idea off of somebody who would understand what it is to be a business professional. And the things that we come up against are different, very different from an employee's perspective versus being the employer or the from the corporation. I like to say that the corporation is like a baby and it never grows up. It always needs the diapers, always needs to be taken care of, right? So that to me is the way I look at it. Tell me about those 6 elements that you were saying. So we know that we're going to set our vision, we know we're going to have goals, and we're going to meet traction. So there's 6 elements that also fall into that you're going to be tracking and measuring during that process.
Yeah, we call them key components. So we identify and this, so that's the EOS model. So if you're looking at the EOS model, it's a model that has your business at the center of it. We've identified 6 key components, and that model stems from a discovery that in business as entrepreneurs, as entrepreneurial leaders, we tend to wrestle with 136 issues simultaneously. And this discovery tells us, to the degree that you can strengthen and just focus on these 6 key components of your business, all of those 136 issues will start falling into place, because they're really just root symptoms of root weaknesses in those 6 key components. And so the whole journey that we go on with our clients is to strengthen those 6 key components. And so we implement tools and disciplines for each of those components to strengthen those pieces. And so there's 6 of them. There's the first component is the vision component. You just get 100% on this. Where are you going? What's the plan to get there? The people component, making sure you've got great people, really defining clearly what's great people for your organization. So the rock star across the street might not be the rock star for your company. So we get really clear on people, making that strong. The third key component is the data component. So just really running your business on facts and figures, objective information. Quite often as entrepreneurs, we run by subjective emotions. And so we really and that's not bad. We've got to have the instinct and still allow for some of that, but we also want to have strong data and make sure we're looking at really strong, good information to be able to identify issues and solve challenges. And the fourth key component is the issues component, which is just getting really good at problem solving. Your ability to achieve your vision is in direct proportion to your ability to solve your problems. And so we identify that as a key component, and we create a culture where everybody feels comfortable and as everyone's well engaged and trained to be able to solve and identify problems. The fifth key component is process, which is really just systemizing your business. That's the whole E-myth. So it's just doing everything in your business the best and right way every time. So it's just systemizing your business. So we have tools and disciplines to allow you to strengthen that piece. Then the sixth key component is traction. So traction's your execution, your discipline. And so again, there's been lots of visions that have been created, a lot of ideas. Entrepreneurs come up with great ideas, and a lot of them can't get off the ground because of weaknesses in traction. They just can't sustain momentum. They can't execute well. And so we want to strengthen that component. And so our whole journey is to guide clients through the process of implementing the tools and disciplines to be able to strengthen those 6 key components. If you just focus on those 6 key components, like I said, all the other issues and problems will start falling into order. So it just reduces complexity. So again, as we grow in business, things get more complicated. You add another person, another person, another person. Next thing you know, there's layers and layers of complexity. And so our jobs as leadership teams is to root out that complexity and to really simplify things as much as possible. So when you're only looking at 6 key things and focusing on that, it's a lot easier than trying to manage those 136 things that you think you have to deal with.
Is one foot in front of the other, right? Instead of trying to conquer the mountain and being overwhelmed by that mountain. It's interesting. Murray and I have lots of conversations about people working in silos, right?
Yeah.
And a reminder that as you have questions, put them up, or, we're not a big group, so just throw your hand up and interject in here. So I don't have to lead all the questions. That's the nice thing about this. I can clearly say I don't know anything. That's why I bring people in the room. But I do have a question or a comment. Again, I was talking to somebody yesterday, they're a marketing professional, and we were talking about how people commoditize so many things. And when we're working in these abstract or non-tangible elements, such as goal setting, such as meeting your visions, and there are tracking and measurables, but if you don't know where you're going, and you don't have a clue and haven't even considered how to do that, asking somebody for a price on how to market their company, or asking somebody a price on what a benefit plan is going to be, you can't even begin to go there. So one of the questions that this marketing person had said to me is his number one frustration is he asks, what's your 1 year, 5 year, 10-year plan to people prior to even setting on that journey of whether you're going to do a marketing proposal for them on how to promote their business. And he said, amazing how many people will throw up and say, what do I need to know that? I just want to know the price for getting new clients. Walk us through a little bit about how many times you may come across that situation.
Yeah, quite often. And quite often there's unfortunately a lot of businesses just don't even have that information. They haven't been able to articulate it. There's probably a vision or a plan in someone's head somewhere. It's usually in the owner. A lot of the times businesses are unfortunately running on the no plan. And so if they do have something, that's great. And that is a tool that we use to strengthen that vision component. Is we answer 8 questions as a leadership team, collectively getting everybody's different version of their vision and plan out of their heads and onto a common document that everybody can agree on and agree to execute on. And so one of them is, what's the 10-year target, and what's the 3-year, what's the 1 year, what's the next 90 days look like, really crystallizing the vision for the company. So you can then go out and share all of that vision, so you are clear on those elements. So because it is tough to know what decisions to make and what direction to take when you're not clear on what your priorities are in the next 90 and have some sense of where you're taking the organization.
And when you say about decision-making skills, that to me is interesting as well. I was fortunate enough to do the Disney Institute this year prior to the pandemic. And one of the items that really resonated with me is they said from the very beginning, Walt had instituted 3 rules. That would, his 3 rules, and all decision making came down to answering those 3 questions. If you answered no to any of those questions, all of the other, like you say, 136 items went away. When somebody gets to that point and they're working with you, what does the process look like start to finish? Is there a length of time, or is it ongoing? When do they graduate from working with EOS?
Yeah, so EOS is a graduated program, and so we typically, it's a 2-year journey on average, some more, some less. We measure progress along the way. Our whole journey, again, is to get you strong in those 6 key components, and so we're tracking that. And once we get to a north of 80% strong in those 6 key components, that's a cue that the client's probably ready to graduate. We encourage new client, anyone implementing EOS, whether you're using a professional implementer or self-implementing, reading the book, it's at least a 2-year journey to really, I think some of the mistakes that I've seen is someone reads traction and they think in a month they're going to be able to implement EOS. And then what happens, it becomes just another flavor of the month and you just don't get traction with it and it goes by the wayside, and then you get the eye rolls the next time you bring some other new business book into the business to implement. And so I prepare clients, prospective clients, that it's a 2-year journey. If you've got a business with more than 10 people in it, 20, 30, 40, 50 people, it's going to take time to really migrate all those tools and disciplines and to really integrate all of that into the business. And it takes time. So, but it is a graduated process. EOS isn't designed for me, the implementer, to go deeper into the business. There does come a time where the client's kind of ready. I've taught them everything I know as far as all the tools in the EOS toolbox. They've achieved 80% plus strong in those 6 key components, and now they're ready to go and just continue to self-implement from there. I do have clients that stay even longer though, even though they've graduated, because they just like the third-party facilitation. It's helpful sometimes just to have that third party facilitating your leadership team meetings. So I do have clients that just they'll probably stay on forever.
I have colleagues that have gone through the traction in the EOS system, and once they graduated, if you would, in talking to them, they've said it's changed the way that they hire people. It's changed the way that not the business component itself, they're doing it, but they're doing it with strategic goal sets. They know what they're looking for. So the EOS system is a standout in so much as being able to show those results. We're coming down to the last few minutes. We all work with dynamic people in our centers of influence. Take this time to formulate a question. This is your time with a facilitator to get your answers. I had a colleague who we were in a strategy session one time, and he was complaining like month over month over month that he couldn't meet his goals, right? Okay, I know I met my goals this month. I didn't meet my goals last month. And it was shortly after I met you, Andrew. And I said to him, I said, like, what are those goals? Oh, I got them up here. I know when I meet them. Fact versus fiction, really, because if it's not written down and not something that's trackable or measurable, what is that? And sometimes what prevents people from working with a facilitator, I think, is fear, right? I don't want to admit what I don't know. It just, I'd rather just continue on. So ask questions. This is your last few minutes with Andrew. I know you have questions, so pipe up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what people are thinking about that is, I'll just add, less is more. It's a phrase we say a lot in EOS, that when you're goal setting, it's 3 to 7, not 37.
Yeah.
So less is more. Yeah, and you're right. Getting it out, getting it on paper, articulating it in a smart goal fashion, and so you're really clear on what your outcome looks like. Really important. Mm-hmm.
Very good. Any questions? Go ahead.
Not a question, but just a comment. When you said about sort of the trying to implement something so quickly, I found that at BBD, we do that a lot in our strategy sessions. Mike McClanahan, he's an avid reader, and he'll get a book and he'll get inspired, and we'll try to implement things right away. And if it doesn't kind of work, then it's the next book. And we seem to be in that pattern for a couple of years. So I thought that was a very interesting comment we had. And then you do get that from the team of like, another book, what about the last 3? And then they start to
we just have to wait 30 days and
totally.
It'll be all over soon.
Yeah,
that's very common. I'm guessing that he's a visionary.
Yes.
It's usually the visionary that comes in and parachutes in the books and the flavors of the month, and super excited because they learn so much, and maybe they're in some other coaching program or doing something, and they bring it back to the team.
And the tools that come with it, I think we still have in both boardrooms, like Toronto and Vancouver, the 6 hats for the book that had the decision-making hats. Like we have all which is really neat and it's exciting, but it's great to like actually follow through. Like I like the idea of that, of taking the time and letting it go. So.
Yeah, and that's part of the benefit of the professional implementation piece. I mean, you can read the book Traction and there's been some successful self-implementers, but we all know it's the implementation part that quite often falls short. And so have someone there to coach, teach, facilitate, and really make sure that it's actually being implemented.
Yeah.
And to take care of that distraction. One of the big things, anybody here see that movie Cocktail years ago, back in the 80s with Tom Cruise? Am I the only one? No? Okay. Well, his character in that is Brian Flanagan. And my husband, full disclosure, calls me Flanagan all the time, because at my bedstand, at my desk, no matter where I am, there is a book somewhere that I will reference, right? And, you know, trying to always get those nuggets. But really, is it distractions that are preventing you from getting to those goals?
Yeah.
So tell Mike not to be a Flanagan.
Yeah, I'm going to use that. I wrote that down.
Well, I want to thank everybody for coming out today. And again, the challenge is to connect with other people in the room. Have that virtual coffee, get to know, and by all means, reach out to Andrew. He's there to help the systems work over and over and over again. These are proven methods. And oh, you're on the fly. Oh, you're a fly on the wall. There you go. I thought you said you were on the fly and getting ready to go. So do reach out and connect and make it worthwhile. And I hope if you've enjoyed the session today that you might tell a friend and come back. Next week, we're shifting the entire conversation into medical cannabis. I have a physician assistant coming in, and we're going to talk about the medical journey as it applies to medical marijuana, where it works and where it doesn't work. So I thank you so much for coming out. Please accept this as my virtual handshake to you until we can meet in person.